take her from me. Why did you take me away? So I could have been up there beside her all alone, ain't that long?
These are the ruins of my creativity.
Here beside you, Lord.
Synthesizers and drum machines.
You know, I promise.
Guitars and a bass. Boxes upon boxes upon boxes of unsold records.
I'd kill my life.
Amplifiers and speaker cabinets. These are the constant reminders, not of what I do, but what I used to do. You see, I used to be creative. From a very young age, I was driven to make art in one way or another.
You were born creative. You were always about making a story. Every day was Halloween for you, dressing up and being, whether it be Batman or Mario or who's that, Zorro? Was it Zorro or?
I would have my mom film movies that I imagined myself to be directing on our VHS camcorder.
Oh, I mean, you did some impressive things artistically.
High words of praise from the coolest guy in the universe. It was my brother that inspired me to get a guitar. I started a band in middle school with my best friends. We recorded 2 songs that didn't have vocals because our vocalist got grounded the day we recorded. I eventually got better at guitar and started another band with other friends. I taught myself graphic design, and it was around this time that I joined a socialist organization, and I eventually used my skills to design many of our logos and book covers. This is the story of my creative journey, with all its ups and downs, but more importantly, it's the story of my efforts to keep the embers of my creativity lit against the pressures and time constraints of work. By the time I graduated high school, I had already begun to experience firsthand the conflict between my creative interests and having to work for the man. But I had also been introduced to the ideas of Karl Marx, who gave me an explanation to something that I had already instinctually felt. Work fucking sucks. And I'm certainly not the only one that feels this way.
You feel like you should count for more. And we all should count for more.
You're not being fulfilled in what you're doing, even though you're being reimbursed.
Karl Marx wrote about the truly distinguishing feature of humankind, what he called our species being. For Marx, it is our free creative labor and the conscious manipulation of our environment that distinguishes us from animals. This is exactly why the conflict between work and making art feels so oppressive. Because capitalism is a system that by its very nature bars the vast majority of humanity from living fulfilling lives, and from realizing their creative and intellectual potential. Through the private ownership of the major industries, which leave us without any control over the dominant forces in our society, and limit access to education, healthcare, housing, and more, and through the system's strict division of labor, dividing each of us into our small specific realm of activity, from mopping floors and flipping burgers, to writing code and doing data analysis, to being forced to sit in one meeting after another, or to deal with one annoying customer after another. In the years following high school, I would continue with efforts to fulfill my creative drive in the limited time that remained after work. Could I make it happen? Like many of my friends at the time, I aspired to make films. While they went to school, I stayed behind and worked. So I helped them on their projects when I could. From zombie films to music videos where I get abducted by an alien race of sentient marijuana plants. I started another band called Letters with my friends Eddie and Ruben, but without ever getting a consistent vocalist, we recorded 2 albums that we never released. Then a hurricane struck and destroyed Eddie's basement, destroying much of our equipment and our rehearsal space in the process. That was the end of Letters, and it coincided with a growing interest in electronic music. Exhausted with the added stress of wrangling other band members, I turned to synthesizers, sequencers, and drum machines to make music on my own without the schedule constraints of being in a band. I released a couple of albums using the name Rotwang after the mad scientist in the 1929 film Metropolis. With extremely modest success overseas, getting some radio play in the United Kingdom, I would occasionally play live here at home. I often teamed up with my friend Joe, who would do live video editing, mixing scenes from our favorite movies and weird archive footage. But our sets always seem to be the opportunity for cigarette breaks, and I can't blame them. It's a little weird to watch a couple of dudes twiddling knobs up on stage while completely weird noise blasts through the PA. Losing momentum, and without the time or energy to promote my music and to network, I got discouraged. I started playing guitar and bass again, usually filling out on my friends' musical projects and recording demos of my own, but I gave that up early on. I returned to electronic music and released another album consisting of tracks that I had largely abandoned in the previous years. I had rallied with grand plans on reigniting some sort of interest in my music. I contacted hundreds of small music blogs, publications, radio stations, and others.
What if I send in the tape and they don't like it? I mean, what if they say I'm no good?
But with the exception of one small regional music paper, I didn't even get the courtesy of a single reply.
Man, I just don't think I'm cut out for music.
I was completely demoralized and left with hundreds of unsold records as a physical reminder of my overambition. I didn't have any big-time rock star illusions, but it was clear that the economy had changed, and that making money as a musician was completely out of the question.
I think if you added up all the money I've made from my creative endeavors, I think it probably barely matches even a single paycheck.
With changed expectations of what it meant to be successful, I started a band with my roommate and our friend Brett that was pretty well received. I returned to my childhood love of treating every day like Halloween when we played a bunch of local shows wearing capes and plastic vampire fangs. We released an EP, and we wrote enough songs for a full-length album. Things were looking up. Maybe I had figured out the winning formula to be a working-class creative. In March 2020, we spent a weekend recording the drums for our album, and then COVID-19 happened, completely taking the wind out of those sails. All of my creative projects had their specific reasons for stalling out and being relegated to the status of one day. One day I'll have the time to finish this, or to continue that. But that one day is like a horizon, perpetually moving away as I approach it. Floods, pandemics, vocalists being grounded. Underlying all of the disruptions to these projects after high school, I once again found the 40-hour work week. 40 hours of time and energy zapped out of me. It's a miracle I ever did these projects to begin with. Gradually, that creative part of me faded away. With the soul-destroying prospect of a life of menial labor, in 2018 I decided to find a way to return to school. The idea was that I might be able to find a job that might be slightly less alienating and would leave me more energy to do creative work. And for the past 2 years, I've been a full-time student living off of savings. But graduation approaches, and the crushing reality of once again facing the labor market, to sell the majority of my waking life to a company so that they can profit from my labor, feels like throwing in the towel. To gain some perspective, I decided to turn to some friends. Around the time that Eddie, Ruben, and I were playing in Letters, Justin had success with his band Bed Light for Blue Eyes, releasing an album and touring the country. Around the time I was making my home movies shot on VHS, Robert's band, The Red House, was touring with some pretty famous acts and had a music video on rotation on MTV. The two of them were kind enough to sit down for an interview about their experience as full-fledged rock stars.
He's very nervous.
Yeah, I know. Oh good, I'm recording.
The goal was always like getting a record deal, and it was like tough to do. And I guess we had the right attitude. We were always like, well, somebody's got to get a record deal, so why not us?
Your name is going to pop up on here, and it's going to say Justin Ortiz, rock star.
That was 100 miles per hour once it started, and it was relentless. It was twice a week, practice, get out and play, get noticed.
We would read like articles in Musician magazine about how to record drums, and we started recording our own record. We had to do like 1,000 as a minimum or something, which is why there's still a box of those in my garage. We woke up one morning and our record was on the cover of the College Music Journal, which was a big publication back then. The review was kind of like, these kids, you know, made this record and it's really good, you know? And then the phone just started ringing.
I remember Fuel by Rahman and Trustkill both had eyes on us, and eventually we linked up with Trustkill, and before you knew it, it was like everyone was ready to quit their jobs and get on the road. And I was sitting there going, we can do that? That's something we should do? Or job I was working for went out of business, and we got signed just around the same time, and I thought, if I don't jump on this, I'm an idiot.
Being in a band and being signed and being encouraged to make music and hang out with these people that you love and play in front of like an audience that wants you to do that, that is a really good job. It really is.
But as fulfilling as it was to write music and to tour around the country, being a signed musician wasn't without its problems.
The record company said like a great goal to reach would be selling like 75,000 copies, and we did that. We like exceeded that, but they were lying because that wasn't enough.
Trustkill also, and not to shame them or anything, but did not know what to do with us.
We presented a new batch of demos to them.
They had no idea how to promote or market or advertise us.
It was that old cliche like, oh, these are good, but I don't hear like a big hit here kind of thing.
We were, I think, more marketed towards doing soundtracks, like TV shows and stuff, and we wanted to just be on the road playing. We wanted to be a serious band, but it became this, you know, all of that. It was the end of an era in the music industry.
And eventually it was almost like a mutual thing, like, you know, we're tired of doing this with you, and they were like, you can go if you want, like, we'll let you out of your contract kind of thing.
Like someone pulled the curtain and exposed, you know, the king not wearing his knickers, and it was a very obvious thing that was going on. That's when it seemed really ugly to me, realizing that, oh, now we're a part of this thing. That turned me off incredibly, and that's why I left.
Somehow, the dream job had turned into just another job, and now Justin and Robert were thrust into the ranks of working stiffs, forced, like me and millions of others, to scrounge for the time for creative projects. What is the first thing that comes to mind when I say 40-hour-a-week, 9-to-5 job?
Drudgery, bad, blackness, being attacked by mosquitoes.
Like, it's so dreadful to walk into your job. That's the worst part of your day, is walking into your job.
So much of my time gets just stolen. I have enough time to go to work, eat, and go to bed.
I just think of 5 days in my life that are completely blocked off from doing stuff that I want to do.
I'm supposed to do this from the time I'm 21 until I'm 65. No, there's gotta be a better way to get out of this.
It's, let's get real here. Yeah, I don't know.
80% of your life doing that? Fuck that.
Fuck that.
I think if you're of the creative type, you're bound to be burnt out. You're bound to feel like that is a curse that you can't reverse. You just feel like there's something crushing that freedom, that liberation that you might feel when you're taking part in something creative, and then to feel that other pressure of pulling your energy out of that. Yeah, it sucks when you wake up feeling creative and then have to go somewhere where it's vacuumed right out of you. knowing full well, you keep thinking, if I could just have stayed home today, I would have made something really great.
Most people, when I tell them what I do, that I do music on the side, but I also have a day job. You know, the music's not really paying or anything. I was like, that's really cool. But they say it like you're a person with a problem.
Creative people do have a problem, and that problem is the economic system that stifles human potential. While many people give up on their instinctual creative interests early in life, or turn them into peripheral hobbies, it is those who refuse to be crushed by the daily grind of life under capitalism that are the unsung creative heroes of our age. Justin continues to this day to write and record music with his project Boy vs. Ghost.
This is the most genuine thing I can come up with right now. Even if it's an attempt, you know? And that, to me, is the most fulfilling thing that I've put my effort into, out of all the things I've ever done.
And Robert finds creative fulfillment in his many illustration projects, and keeps at it with his band Brother Eye.
And now we just release stuff on our own like most of the world does.
And how do they do it?
I don't even know. I need to drink beer.
Working a job, whether it's 9 to 5 or whatever the time period is, a job is what it is, and then making time for art is extremely difficult because it provides you with this unbalanced sense that you have to figure out. You have to call the shots. No one has time for things. I don't have time for it. I don't have time to sit here and write an album, but I make the time to do it. And yeah, you'll stay up real late and you'll lose sleep and you'll feel like shit the next day at work, and because you gotta go to work the next day, and can't call out 'cause you're writing songs. I mean, you can, but
You know what? Fuck the man.
I would literally hang there and write lyrics and stuff. I wrote a lot of lyrics for the band, and yeah, got a lot of things done while earning a little bit of money there.
I remember I was working at a teacher store, I was ringing up a customer, and I literally said, oh, hang on a second, and went in the corner and wrote some lyrics down, like mid doing the transaction, like the till open and everything, and then came back and then like forgot what I was doing to give them the money back on company time.
Like an ongoing guerrilla war against the system, the means by which we fight that war requires creativity in itself.
You're dealing with a customer, excuse me. Gotta remember that for later. Sorry about that. Anyway, and then go back to what you were doing. Stay weird. If you're an artist, you're already a weirdo. You're not gonna look any weirder to somebody doing that.
This was never about money for us. It was about us against the system.
As long as that human spirit, the drive to be creative, is not crushed, we can serve as an example for others.
We show them that the human spirit is still alive.
You always have to finish what you started. You put it out and nobody likes it, at least you know you tried it, you know. It's a different sort of negativity or something. Like, nobody likes that. I didn't finish it is a horrible feeling, you know.
I always thought that the most important thing is just to get stuff out there, because if it doesn't get out there, people don't have an opportunity to hear it, and I've always appreciated the opportunity in finding it. So even if it's in the rubble.
And as long as there are people who refuse to abandon their humanity, there are the reserves of those who will fight for a society in which the free development of each is the condition for the free development of all.
You can turn nothing into something. That's art. Attempt no matter what, because that is a great pursuit in itself. I'm out to make what I don't think exists.
What can we do while we're here that validates our existence? Oh, well, we could create something that didn't exist before, as you know, that is an expression of ourselves. That seems really valuable. Creativity is really important, and the arts and all that stuff, I really feel, in a non-hippie way, is so fucking important.
Our fight is a fight of humanity against an inhuman system.
I'm a human being, god damn it! My life has value!
And while I fight the good fight on one front, maybe I'll just have to dust off those guitars and synths. Turn on those amplifiers and rediscover other creative outlets abandoned long ago.
You gotta do what makes you happy. Even if it's making documentaries like this. Right? Right? So make documentaries.
I'm gonna stay in bed all day. I'm not gonna hear a word you say. It's gonna be a life of start for me. Electric back and still on fire and disease. Take a look outside. Those lively odds are on the side. And don't you just a bore. When you're angry, young and bored. And if I got my way, those idle rich will play. When the discussion starts, I'll know life I'm gonna be a lazy slob. Stop the folks and stop the job.
Let's finish this because my hideous visage is all over this.